The moment I said I was broke, my family disappeared. No calls. No messages. No, are you okay? Just silence. From the same people who used to call me every week. The same people who said, "We'll always be there." But the second I had nothing to give, they were gone. Like I never mattered. Like I was only useful when I could help them. And the craziest part? My husband wasn't even surprised. He looked at me and said, "I told you this would happen." I didn't want to believe him. So I tested it. I told them I had nothing left. And what they did next showed me the truth I was avoiding all along. Growing up, I always believed my family was close. Not perfect, but connected. We talked often. Met on weekends. Showed up for each other during important moments. Birthdays, celebrations, even small things. And I never questioned it. Because from the outside, it looked like love. But over time, something started to feel off. At first, it was small. Little things I didn't pay much attention to. Whenever someone needed help, they called me. Money, favors, support. I was always the one they came to. And I never said no. Because that's what I believed family meant. You help without keeping score. You give without expecting anything back. So I did. Again and again. But looking back, I started noticing a pattern. They only showed up when they needed something. Rarely just to check on me. Rarely just to be there. Still, I ignored it. Made excuses. Told myself I was overthinking. Until one evening, my husband said something that stayed with me. He didn't accuse anyone. He didn't argue. He just asked, "When was the last time they called you without needing something?" I didn't have an answer. And that silence said everything. But even then, I wasn't ready to accept it. Because believing that your own family cares more about what you give than who you are isn't easy. So instead of accepting it, I decided to test it. Not to prove him right, but to prove him wrong. At least, that's what I thought. Because I still believed there was something real there. Something that would show up when it actually mattered. I just didn't know yet how wrong I was about to be. So I did something simple, but revealing. I told them I was broke. Not dramatically. Not as a big announcement. Just casually, honestly. Like I needed support for once. Like I couldn't be the one giving anymore. At first, there was a pause. The kind of silence that feels longer than it actually is. Then the replies started coming in. But something felt off immediately. No one asked if I was okay. No one asked what happened. No concern. Just short responses. Dry. Distant. Like they didn't know what to say. Because there was nothing to gain. I tried not to overthink it. Gave it time. Told myself maybe they were busy. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But then, the calls stopped. Completely. No random check-ins. No casual conversations. No invitations. Days turned into weeks. And the silence didn't change. It got louder. Because now, it meant something. I watched it happen in real time. Group chats that used to be active went quiet when I spoke. Plans were made, without me. Family gatherings happened. And I found out about them later. Like I had been slowly erased. Without anyone saying it out loud. And that hurt more than anything. Because it wasn't direct. It wasn't a fight. It was absence. Which somehow felt worse. I remember one moment clearly. It was my cousin's birthday. Normally, I'd get a call. A message. Something. But that day? Nothing. Not even a text. And that's when it finally hit me. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was a pattern revealed. The moment I had nothing to offer. I had no value. At least, not to them. I sat there, staring at my phone. Scrolling through old messages. Conversations filled with requests. Favors. Can you help with this? I need a small loan. You're the only one I can ask. And suddenly, everything made sense. It was never about connection. It was convenience. I wasn't part of the family because I belonged. I was part of it because I provided. And once that stopped, so did everything else. That realization. It didn't come all at once. It settled slowly. Heavy. Uncomfortable. But clear. Because now there was no confusion left. No excuses to hide behind. No, maybe, or what if. Just truth. The kind you can't ignore once you see it. And sitting there in that silence, I understood something I hadn't before. I hadn't lost my family that day. I had just finally seen them clearly, for who they really were. And that hurt more than being broke ever could. At first, the silence felt heavy. Too quiet. Like something important was missing. I kept checking my phone out of habit, expecting a message, a call, anything. But nothing came. And slowly, that reality started to sink in. Not as a shock anymore, but as truth. They weren't busy. They weren't waiting. They were gone. And for a few days, it hurt. A lot more than I expected. Because I wasn't just losing support. I was losing the idea of what I thought my family was. But then something unexpected happened. The silence stopped feeling heavy. And started feeling peaceful. No constant requests. No pressure to say yes. No guilt for choosing myself. Just space. Real space. And in that space, I started focusing on my own life. Things I had ignored before. My goals. My work. My future. I stopped reacting. And started building. Slowly at first. One small step at a time. Fixing what needed attention. Organizing my finances. Looking for better opportunities. Investing my time where it actually mattered. And with every step forward, I felt stronger. Clearer. More in control. Because for the first time, I wasn't being pulled in 10 different directions. I wasn't giving pieces of myself away. I was keeping them. Using them. Building something real. Weeks turned into months. And that version of me, the one who felt lost and alone, started to change. I became more focused. More independent. More aware. Of people. Of patterns. Of what I was willing to accept and what I wasn't. And then one day, I realized something surprising. I wasn't waiting for them anymore. Not for a call. Not for an apology. Not for anything. Because the truth had already been shown. And I had already moved forward. Without them. And that shift? That quiet change inside me was the beginning of something bigger. Because I wasn't just healing. I was preparing. For the moment they would come back. Because deep down, I knew they would. Months passed, and just like I expected, they came back. Not all at once. Not dramatically. But slowly. A message here. A missed call there. Hey, it's been a while. Just checking in. Like nothing had happened. Like the silence never existed. At first, I just watched. Didn't respond immediately. Didn't react the way I used to. Because now, I wasn't confused anymore. I understood the pattern. And right on cue, the real reason showed up. I need a small favor. Can you help me out this one time? Different words, same meaning. That's when it clicked completely. They weren't back because they missed me. They were back because they thought I had something again. That I was useful again. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear. Because now, I could see everything for what it was. So instead of reacting emotionally, I decided to test it one more time. But this time, I was in control. I replied calmly. No anger. No attitude. Just simple. I wish I could help, but I'm still broke. Still figuring things out. And just like that, the shift happened again. Almost instantly. The tone changed. Replies became shorter. Less frequent. Less interested. Until finally, they disappeared again. Exactly like before. Same pattern. Same outcome. But this time, it didn't hurt. Because now it wasn't a question anymore. It was proof. Clear, undeniable proof. That what we had wasn't really connection. It was convenience. And once that convenience was gone, so was everything else. I sat there looking at my phone. But this time I wasn't waiting. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't questioning myself. I was just observing, understanding, and accepting. Because the truth had revealed itself twice. And I didn't need a third time. That was the moment everything changed for me. Not because they left, but because I stopped expecting them to stay. I stopped holding on to an idea that wasn't real. And in that moment, I wasn't losing anything anymore. I was gaining clarity. Real clarity. The kind that sets you free. Because now, I knew exactly who they were. And more importantly, I knew who I needed to be. Someone who doesn't chase people, who only show up when it benefits them. Someone who doesn't confuse presence with loyalty. And someone who understands. That real family doesn't disappear when you have nothing. They stay. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. And honestly, I didn't want to anymore. That's when I made a decision. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. I wasn't going to confront them. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to do something quieter, something stronger. I was going to stop playing my role completely. Weeks later, one of them reached out again. This time more direct, more urgent. I really need your help. I read the message. And for a moment, the old version of me almost responded. The one who would say yes. The one who felt responsible. But that version of me was gone. So I replied, calm, simple, final. I can't help. No explanation. No apology. Just truth. There was a pause. Then came the response. Different this time. Not polite. Not understanding. Frustration. Guilt. Even a little anger. After everything we've done for you? That line. It would have worked before. It would have made me doubt myself. Made me question my decision. But now? It didn't land the same. Because I knew the truth. Everything they had done came with expectations. Conditions. And I was done paying that price. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just didn't respond. And that silence? It said everything. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. Choosing peace. Choosing boundaries. Choosing myself. And that was the real shift. Not them leaving, but me letting them. Without chasing. Without fixing. Without explaining. Because I finally understood something important. You don't lose people who only stay when you're useful. You outgrow them. And in that moment, I realized something else. This wasn't revenge. It was release. And it felt better than anything I could have said. After that, everything became quiet again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. No expectations. No pressure. No constant feeling that I had to prove my worth. Just space to live my life on my own terms. I didn't block them. I didn't make a big statement. I just stepped back and kept moving forward, focusing on what actually mattered. My work, my peace, the people who showed up without needing anything in return. And slowly, my life felt lighter, clearer, more real, because I wasn't surrounded by noise anymore, only truth. I realized something important through all of it. Being broke didn't cost me my family. It revealed them. It showed me who was there for me, and who was only there for what I could give. And once you see that difference, you can't go back. But you don't need to. Because sometimes, losing the wrong people is how you finally find the right life. And honestly, I wouldn't change that lesson for anything.